Juventus is where we will be starting today, and I'll stick with you, Mina, because we saw them recover from a first half in the Derby della Mole against Torino, but at the time we were thinking, okay, you can still see that things aren't right here, or I think at least most people were. And then they play Barcelona at the Camp Nou in the Champions League. It's completely different, and it looks a lot more convincing. So what was the difference between the two sides?
I wonder if there's an element of psychology going on, because it just seems like, well, one of the questions posed to Andre Pirlo and the management really has been, they seem to really raise their level when it's a big game or something's riding on the issue. And they seem to drop it when their team opposing them are somebody like Spezia or Crotone, or as we've seen in the past where they've managed to get draws where they should have had wins. So I wonder, sometimes you do think when teams have won so much, 9 years in a row, and I know there's been many changes, but there is a little bit of I'm only really now excited to face the big sides. I don't know if you guys remember this, but Neymar had a story at the time, and he's like, I don't want to face Nantes because they were under Claudio Ranieri, so they're going to be super defensive. I don't want to play that game. And it's almost like when you're just very good at what you do and you've done that so well, you don't really want to play teams where everyone expects you to win and you have to put in a lot of effort. You want to play the good sides where you have space, where it is more of a chess game, where it's going to be interesting for you to show off your quality. And I do feel like a lot of those players do that. Having said all of that, I wonder if there was a turning point in the second half of the derby in which it just kind of looked like they all spoke to each other and thought to themselves, we can't be losing to a Marco Giampaolo team. I'm obviously putting my own thoughts into this. But, maybe a case of we can't be losing this. This is so important to us. And then they showed off their best. And I don't know if there is an element of the fact that it is Torino. And I'm going to say this too. It is Barcelona who lost to Cadiz. So as much as, I'm sitting there and I spoke about Real Madrid, I mean, Barcelona even was. So I was ashamed of the fact that they lost the first round. So 3-0 was about what I needed or what I wanted.
I'm going to go to a more positive side for Juventus because we've been very critical of them on this podcast. And I think rightfully so because of the expectations of Juve coming off 9 consecutive Scudetti, having Ronaldo, needing to win the Champions League with the whole Ronaldo experiment. But I think more so in the Champions League, we finally saw what we've been calling out so many times this season, that Juventus in Serie A is unbalanced. It's not a team that works. It's a team that maybe works on a video game, but not in reality. You look at it and it's awkward. There's players that have no idea where to be. Paulo Dybala was dreadful over the weekend, and rightfully so he didn't play against Barcelona. And look how much better they were because they had finally 3 central midfielders. And Pirlo, it's like this light bulb went out, and you think that maybe it was included somewhere in his genius thesis from before the season. He was like, okay, Barcelona, they have 2 central midfielders, so I played the third so we could overrun the midfield. It's like, yeah, you can do that in Serie A too. As a matter of fact, your opponents in Serie A are probably looking at your team, the 4-4-2 or whatever you're playing, and saying, we can overload the midfield because they only have 2 central midfielders. So basically, Juventus was doing what they've been receiving all season long from their opposition in Serie A. That's the craziest thing. It's like, look at how much better they are with Weston McKennie in there. And I'm not saying Weston McKennie is the savior. I don't want to give him that responsibility, but you need players with those characteristics. It can't be 4 out-and-out attackers that want to go forward, and suddenly you have no spine in front of your defense, which should be on paper one of the best defenses in Europe.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.